So today's chapter, we'll talk about organizing a new venture. How do we organize a new venture? Once we have everything in place, and once we know that the feasibility study has been done, we've got the business plan pitched for funding, and hoping that you got the funding, how do you organize a new venture? So organizing is based on that function that we call in management as organizational structure. So, what does an organizational structure help us with? It helps us determine who has the authority on what kind of decisions and who is responsible for certain kind of activities, tasks, what are they obligated to perform. So the relationship between authority, responsibility is determined by an organization structure. Who's at the top management, who has to be giving instructions and who takes those instructions, who does what, is determined because of the organizational structure itself. So, every organization, you have to have somebody who has the authority to take decisions, to allocate resources, to direct behavior, to direct, effort towards achieving some organizational outcomes. Who is vested with what kind of authority? And when somebody is giving directions, when someone is taking decisions, the team members, the subordinates have to be taking those instructions and they need to perform activities and tasks. So who is responsible for what? And this is determined by the kind of organization structure we have. So that's the first thing that is, determined by an organization structure. The second one, as I was telling you, resource allocation. Who has the power to allocate resources? And I'm sure you realize that organizational resources are scarce. We don't have too many organizational resources. We always have limited resources. It could be financial resources, it could be human capital, it could be physical assets, technology, equipment, raw material. Who takes decisions and who gives these resources to what kind of people? That is determined by an organization's structure, the way work is organized. It's a very important function of management. And I'm sure if you have taken management 102 principles of management, you must have definitely come across this particular chapter where we talk about organizational structure. The structure is also important for people to report. Employees need to report what kind of progress they have made, what kind of achievements have they done towards organizational goals, and they need to report if they're facing any challenges. They have to report, give feedback, and make sure the top management is aware the kind of progress that has been made. And if you have any challenges or difficulties in achieving those organizational outcomes, you need to report it back to your manager, back to the superior who is there. You need to report them back to either teams, to individuals, or to your bosses. So that reporting function is also determined by an organization structure. So structure is basically for giving instructions, which we call as downward communication from top to bottom. And structure is also required for lateral communication, communication at the same level, so that work can be coordinated, we can work in teams. That communication is also facilitated by organization structure. And organization structure is also important for upward communication. When I say upward communication, you have to report feedback, you have to report some data, you have to give back inputs and say, this is the progress that has been made. So an organization structure is for downward communication, taking instructions, lateral communication, which is used for coordination and building cohesive teams, and organization structure is also required for reporting and upward communication. So all that functions are put under the topic called as reporting. And what facilitates reporting? An organization structure definitely facilitates, supports reporting. Yeah, we talked about communication, downward communication, lateral communication, upward communication is all possible because you have a clear organization structure. Like suppose I'm an assistant professor, I'm director of accreditation, I'm the program director for the MBA. So I'm reporting back to my dean. So whatever I do, I have to tell him this is what we're planning to do. These are the strategies that we have. These are the goals that we have. Who is doing what? I report everything back to him. So it's a structure tells me whom to communicate to. Whom do I? What kind of decisions can I take? what kind of resources that are available at my disposal that I can allocate to others. So organization structure, literally, suppose I'm an entry level employee. Obviously, I have very little authority. I might have enough responsibility, but I have very little authority. So I don't take decisions. I just take instructions and I do the activities. It's because I'm at the entry level job. But over a period of time, after many years, I start going up in the organization structure, and therefore I take on more responsibilities. I also have some authority to take decisions, to allocate resources, to give instructions, to plan. All those kind of activities are possible because of how work is being organized. And then, as I said, last one, the last bullet point here is work responsibilities. So organization structure, if we say we all want to do something, well, not do it. You have to say who is doing what, and therefore we need to distribute our responsibilities to one person, to every single person in the organization. And that's possible because we have different job titles, and tasks which are very similar are grouped together. Tasks and activities which are similar are grouped together to create a job. And the job means that we have certain authority. Job also means we have certain responsibilities. Responsibility is an obligation to perform, to deliver, to do something towards achieving organizational goals, to do something to achieve team goals or department goals or divisional goals. Any of those goals are achieved, and we have an obligation to perform. That obligation to perform is called as responsibility. So all these activities are possible because we say organizational structure is there. So even like any other organization, a new venture requires a structure, an organizational structure that supports activities, that clarifies job responsibilities, that tells who is going to do what, and that also clearly demarcates the kind of authority that I have. And it clarifies communication channels, who should communicate what, and is it downward, is it upward, is it between the same level? All that is possible because of organization structure. So what kind of organization structures do we have generally? Is broadly classified. You can say that we have an organic structure versus a mechanistic structure. So organic structures, see, any structure is characterized by these three characteristics. So one is the degree of standardization. How standardized are jobs? Can we clearly define everything in a job? Maybe simple jobs like a worker's job can be fully standardized. Do step one, do step two, step three, step four, step five, six, seven. Repeat. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Then repeat. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Because it's a simple job of a worker, you can have high degree of standardization. But if you talk the top level job in the company, which is like the CEO's job, the degree of standardization, you cannot standardize a chief executive officer's job. You can't simply clearly define every day what he or she will do. You cannot have steps one, two, three, four, five, six. It's very difficult because the CEO's job, the chief executive officer's job, is unpredictable. There's a lot of uncertainty. Decisions have to be taken. You need to study competition. You also need to understand what's going on in the macro environment itself. Tough decisions are taken, and a lot of data is taken into account before making those decisions. And therefore, at the top level, jobs cannot be completely standardized or completely defined. So the degree of standardization is low. As you go up in the organization, jobs cannot be clearly defined. They become, you know, there is some sense of flexibility in how the jobs are performed when you go up in the hierarchy, when you go up in the organization structure. So the degree of standardization is low. But if you're at the bottom, simple jobs, worker level jobs, entry level jobs, the degree of standardization is high. You can clearly define what they are supposed to be doing. Now, degree of centralization, some organizations, one person takes all decisions because it's a small company, one gentleman owns the company, and you have all control, whatever you want to have control on, and therefore degree of centralization is very high because one person makes all decisions. the degree of centralization. Whenever you say all decision making power is there in one single person or one position, then you say degree of centralization is extremely high. But not all organizations work that way. Not all businesses can be run that way, because organizations grow, the number of people employed with your company can grow. You might not be confined to one city or one country. You might start having branches in other countries, other regions, and you might have hundreds of employees. Then one person cannot take all decisions. You need to delegate some authority making power. Some of that, you know, authority has to be delegated. That means there is some degree of decentralization. The centralization decreases, and such structures are called decentralized structures. The degree of centralization is low. As the company becomes bigger, expands, more product lines, operates in many countries, operations are very complex, the degree of centralization can decrease, is low. But if it's a small company, one individual knows everything, he does everything, the degree of centralization is very high because this individual makes all the decisions. Then you have the last one, degree of complexity. Say if you have a small company, there's not much of a differentiation. Say you don't have too many departments, you don't have too many levels in the organization. So the degree of complexity is low because it's a small company. We do simple work, we do simple kind of business, not too many people. So we don't have too many departments, we don't have too many levels in the organization. So the degree of complexity is low. Sometimes you might have a large manufacturing or unit or a company where you have several departments. Each department has many levels, so the degree of complexity is getting more, it's increasing. Now if you put operations in America, operations in Europe, operations in China, operations in, say, Asia Pacific, you have several regions. So each region has many departments. Every department has many levels. So the degree of complexity is getting more because the company is big. So all these things are important elements of an organization structure. Now, when all these are high, when jobs are completely defined, the degree of standardization, the first point, if this is very high, the degree of centralization is very high, the degree of complexity is very high, then you say that structure is mechanistic structure. When all three are high, that structure is called as mechanistic structure. Let's say the jobs are not standardized, there's a lot of flexibility. Every decision is not taken by one single person or in one single position. There's a lot of decentralization, authority is delegated, so it is low. This degree of standardization is low, the degree of centralization is low, and it's not very complex. The degree of complexity is also low. Then if all three are low, then the structure is called as organic structure. Okay, so when all these three are high, you refer to that structure as mechanistic structure. When all these three are relatively low, you call that as an organic structure. Very flexible structure is an organic structure. Clearly defined, centralized, extremely complex is a mechanistic structure.
Professor,
Yep,
how can a company be complex but also standardized?
that's good. You need to figure out based on the kind of technology that you're using, based on the kind of people that you're dealing with, based on the business that you're doing, or based on what you want to accomplish, you have to determine which is the best organizational structure that will suit you. There's no one perfect organization structure. You have to always think about it. And that's why you need to understand the importance of organization structure. Otherwise, even the best companies can fail if they don't have the right organization structure. So, because ours is a new venture, because we are talking of business research and innovation, so let's assume that we have this new venture. We need to look at how we are organizing a new venture. Stage one, if you're a one person operation, you're one person who is trying to do some business. So the owner does everything: sales, bookkeeping, marketing, production, so on. which is very, unlikely. One person doing everything. Stage one may never be there. You might go to stage two. As more people join an organization, the business owner becomes a player and a coach. So you could be a leader, you're also a player, but you're also a coach. So you're playing the role of an entrepreneur and you perform day to day tasks, but along with other employees. So I think stage one is very difficult unless you know how to do everything by yourself. Suppose I'm a tutor. I'm a tutor of some course. I teach math and I have a little institution. I'm the only teacher. This institute belongs to me. I give coaching lessons in math in preparation for some of those exams. I think I can do sales. I'm doing the bookkeeping. I will teach. I will do marketing. I'll do everything myself. So it's possible, but it's not always visible that you can do one person new venture. Most of the times, like you guys, you're doing a project, 4 members or 5 members in each team. So that's what happens. One of you will play the coach, others will be players, and some of you play the role of an entrepreneur, some of you will play the role of employees. You bring different skills to the table, you bring all those ideas to the table, and you make things happen. One will take care of production, one person will take care of, say, marketing and sales, another person will take care of the technology innovation, somebody will take care of the accounting and finance, somebody will take care of, say, logistics and supply chain. So all these activities can be performed by different individuals. So it's because the organization needs that kind of team. The stage one can be possible. Stage two, most likely it'll happen. Stage three, the firm reaches a major milestone in organizational development and then add another additional level of supervision. Suppose I'm having accounting department under me. I'm the only person. But when the company becomes big, I might need other accountants who will be part of my team because I cannot manage all accounting tasks by myself as a single individual because the business is expanding. Suppose I'm another individual who is doing marketing. You're doing marketing. Maybe you start off with one person in the marketing department, but when your company becomes big, you need a marketing team, you need a sales team, you need trained people, you need so many more people to take care of marketing and sales in several countries. That is when you're adding another level. That's stage three, not just single people, but you're having more people under each person. So each person has now a team, a department, one more level of supervision. That is when the organization has achieved another milestone because it's growing, it's becoming big. So you start with one person, then you have a few people who will do different activities. Then, when it becomes a little bigger, each person taking care of each of those departments will have more assistants, will work under his or her supervision. And that is when you're adding one more layer of supervision. That means your company is becoming big. Stage four, a company adds more more layers of management and processes. It has policies, it has budgets, it has personal practices, it has organizational charts. Each job has a description, and there are control protocols. How do you measure? How do you control what's happening? How do you keep a tab on what's going on in the company? Now this is becoming a big company. There are a lot of layers, a lot of management processes, several processes, and there is a written policy that guides all kinds of action. There are budgets, there are standardized personal practices, organizational charts for each department, perhaps. Every job has a clear description, every job has key performance indicators, and we also have measures to see how much of performance is there, what is being achieved. If we need to make some corrective action, what kind of corrective action should be taken. All these details come into picture because the organization has reached stage four. It's big, it's complex, it's many layered, many functions and processes. You need to have standardized procedures so that the control is easy, the coordination is easy. So, departmentation, organization structure can be made based on function. This is the key. The first way of creating organization structure is based on different functions. Now, this is a simple example. Departmentation by function can be done As I was telling you in the previous, examples as well, accounting function, marketing function, manufacturing function, human resource function. Not necessary you will have only four functions. You might have another function, you might have another function, say logistics and supply chain function, say quality control function. Maybe if the organization is super big, inventory management function. You might have so many other functions. This is a simple example with four different functions. Each department or function here, each department by function has many more layers, right? It has many more layers. Under each one, you might have more people working. Under manufacturing, you have more people working. As your company becomes big, you might have more layers. So the height of this organization structure, it becomes a tall structure, slowly, gradually. Now, another way of looking at organization structure is by process. So you might have, as I was telling you again, design, more flexibility, more organic kind of structure. See, all great products have to be designed. We're talking of new venture in our class, right? So this is a very important process. It never stops. We create a new product, it goes back and we try to improve it. We go back and make more improvements. We go back and create better material. We go back and create better operating system. We go back, create better packaging. We go back and give better service. So design elements, there are many layers of design. How it looks, what material goes, durability, performance, operating system, ecosystem that we are creating, all that is the design element. So design process, a very important process. Of course, once the design, you're happy with the design, it goes to the manufacturing, right? Manufacturing is a process. So obviously you can have other elements here. You can do quality control here, and you make sure the quality is the best quality before it goes to the storage, warehousing, packaging, transportation, warehousing, and storage. You don't want to, lose whatever finished products you have produced. You want to stack them up carefully, label them, put everything that describes its quality, any certification that it has, any stamp of quality has to be there. You need to have a proper registered number for each product that's produced with all the details. Tracking should be possible. So, storage, then it goes to shipping. Somebody places an order, shipping is a process. So, you want to keep track of how you're shipping, where your products are, where are they in the process of reaching the customers, when will they get it. So, again, these are not just the only processes. You may have other processes also. But this is a simple four different processes based kind of organization structure. How many people will be in the design department? Again, more people. How many will be in the what levels? Supervisors in manufacturing, workers in manufacturing. Who will be there in manufacturing? Many more people. Storage. How many people? You will have a manager, some supervisors, some loading people, some unloading people. What will they do? Shipping. Again, you might have more people. Manager, other supervisors, somebody who tracks shipping shipments. So all that is what is based on different processes. It's not necessary you should have process. If you think you want to have departmentation by function for your company, you can do this. If you think no, we are based on processes, let's focus on creating departments based on process. So that's again a decision that you have to take for your new venture, whatever you think works in the best interest of your new venture. There's no one perfect organization structure, so you have to determine what works for your company best, and you can go ahead. So that's how it works with departmentation by process. Now you can have departmentation by product. From process, we move to something like product. Let's assume you're a financial institution, a banking company. So you might have mortgages as a product, commercial loans as a product, consumer loans as a product, checking accounts, other types of accounts as a product. So each of that can have so many more customers. So you may have other people who will take care of the mortgage business, who will do, the kind of documentation required, who will do due diligence, who will take decisions. Same is the case with commercial loans. You might have many customers who take commercial loans, other businesses who take loans from the bank itself. So you might want to have this as commercial loans as a product, and it's big. The customers are many. So you do a lot of activities and plenty of work volume is there. So you think that is a very important product and it has a separate department. Same is the case with consumer loans. Somebody like me might take a housing loan. Somebody like me might take a car loan, or I could take an educational loan. So these could be consumer loans, and there are plenty types of customers here. A large customer base who has to be served. This is a very important product. So we have a different department for consumer loans. Same is the case with, say, checking accounts. Now we want to have as many accounts as possible and have people put their salaries and their savings and their, whatever transactions they do in their checking accounts. So all that can come under this category of products. And you might have many customers here and a lot of activity here, and your scale of operations is huge. Therefore, we have a department which is based on product category because it works for this particular bank. It's not the best, structure. We're not saying it is best for everyone, but for a bank, perhaps it makes sense. So you have to pick and choose the departmentation. You like it to be based on function or based on process or based on product, whichever works best for you based on the nature of business that you're doing. Then you can have also departmentation by matrix, which is called as matrix organization. Now, matrix organization is, if I have a company, there is top management. Somebody does the coding or manufacturing. One department does the sales. One department does the finance part of it. Somebody's recruiting and selecting and doing the HR function. You have four functional departments. But my company is not working on one project. We have project A, project B, and project C. Maybe project A is in China, project B is in America, project C is, say, in the UK. So there are three different projects that we are doing as one company. We do major functions that are four. We manufacture, we sell, we finance, and we manage our human resource. So, you might have the same department, manufacturing, which will help project A. The project A manager will coordinate with you. The same manufacturing manager will also be working with his team with project manager B because this is a separate project. And they have a manager who will coordinate with the manufacturing manager and his team. The same manufacturing manager's team will also be simultaneously working on project C. And you will get whatever inputs you want from the client that is shared by project manager C. So it's a matrix organization. Same is the case with sales. The sales manager's team is working with project A, working with project B with a separate manager, with project C with another manager. Same is the case with finance managers, team. They also are working simultaneously with project A, with project B, and project C, taking the inputs from project A manager, separate inputs from project B manager, taking inputs from project C manager. So this type of organization structure is called as matrix organization because you have functional departments here, but they're working not on one project, but they're working on multiple projects here, ABC project. So do you understand matrix organization? Sometimes it is the best one for the type of business that you're doing. Maybe this is the best kind of type of organization. So there's no one best organization structure. You have to pick and choose what works for you. Okay, I'm assuming that you're all okay with whatever I've explained, and that forms the end of the chapter itself. So we discussed all kinds of organization structure. The company that you're creating, the new venture that you're creating, basically has to make the call on what is the best structure that works for your business to be successful and to do a great job. So understanding your technology, understanding what kind of business you are in, the type of people that you have as employees, and then the kind of leadership style that you want to involve will determine whether you want to have an organic structure which is flexible, which delegates authority, which gives greater freedom, or because your leadership style is more autocratic style, you want to have more control and you want to have a mechanistic structure. That depends. And if you look at the kind of technology that you're involved with, should you want to have a departmentation based on product, or do you want to go by function? Do you want to take a process, or do you want to finally choose a matrix organization? That's completely depend on the type of business that you're doing. Sometimes even structures are also related to the kind of technology that we use. Suppose we are involved with producing products which are extremely customized. Every customer's product is different. Design is different. The way the material is used is different. It is handcrafted. A lot of customization is there. In such a case, you need to have a very organic structure, very flexible structure. But suppose you're doing mass production, it is one standardized product. I think a mechanistic structure is better suited. So, obviously, technology, the kind of production processes, the type of leadership styles that you might have, and the kind of followers that you may have in the organization itself will determine what kind of structure will be best for you. So there's no one perfect organization structure for your new venture. As it becomes larger and bigger, your structure will evolve. The kind of technology that you will use will determine the kind of structure that is best for you. The kind of people that you have will also determine the kind of structure that is best for you. The leadership styles also will determine what kind of structure that you want to use. At the end of the day, you must have to ensure that your organization structure is working for you. Only then that means you've made the right choice in creating a right organization structure, revisiting it, refining it to suit your business needs. You need to make sure that you have the perfect structure, because organization structure helps you organize work, allocate resources, make sure the tasks and activities are performed. At the end of the day, your goals are being achieved, whether it is organizational level goals, divisional goals, departmental goals, team goals, or individual goals. All of us are involved in getting these goals accomplished, and that's possible if you have the right organization structure working for you. So thank you, and that finishes off my class on this chapter.